Hey guys, welcome to Streamophile. As you can see, no co-host today. I'm holding a solo because we're doing this week a little bit different. We're reviewing a movie called Blackout. John's gonna do it by himself on Wednesday. I'm dropping the Monday, kind of doing a little battle because we have two totally different takes. Before we get into all of that, let's get into the intro.
Welcome to Streamophile, the show where John and Ben watch the latest on all streaming platforms and let you know whether to stream it or skip it. We stream everything, so you don't have to.
All right, I don't know exactly how to talk about this movie that just dropped on Netflix. It's called Blackout, starring Josh Duhamel, Abby Cornish, Nick Nolte, and a bunch of other cartel members, quote unquote. Um, so this movie starts with Josh Duhamel leaving his house, setting a trap, and catching somebody else on fire that's trying to sneak into his house. All right, let's just he next scene he wakes up in a hospital bed and he doesn't know who he is. All right, so I was like, all right, they're trying to spin off of Memento. I'm I'm gonna tell you right now, off top, it's a 81-minute movie. This is what started the conversation with my best friend John. I was like, hey man, there's a movie on Netflix with Josh Duhamel, and it's only 81 minutes long. That's got to be a terrible movie because I don't know of any movie that I've ever seen being that short. 90 minutes, 94 minutes roughly is usually as short as they go. And he goes, oh, that's it. We're reviewing it. I was like, so I have myself to thank for him picking this, knowing that there is a chance, it's a 50-50 chance anytime you hit play on a movie, if it's going to be good or bad. It might be okay, you know what I mean, depending on your grading scale. For us, you already know it's stream it, skip it, or Wild Wild West. So this one, I'm going to give you the overview of the movie. I'm going to tell you what my thoughts were, but before we get into all of that, this is 175% skip it. I don't understand the point of this movie. We always say, "Oh, try not to criticize or anything like that." This movie was short, and it still felt long. Like I fell asleep. First of all, I mean, full disclosure, I'm 38, almost 40. I did the old man sleep, as we like to call it, throughout the movie. It's 81 minutes long. I watched Vincenzo. That's 20 episodes, 80 minutes long each. Didn't fall asleep once, and I had to read subtitles the entire time. If you've listened to the first 10 episodes, it's well established I don't like to read. That's just not who I am as a person. I listen. I'm a great listener. At least I like to think I am. Okay. How do I talk about this movie without spoiling it when it just came out? Nothing important. Like, okay, now see, I was about to just jump right into. I already said skip it. This might be a movie you want to watch when there's nothing else on. When you're like, Ben got to be wrong. Like, there's no way that movie was that bad, but it was, right? There's twists in it that happen for no reason, multiple times. You end the movie with zero answers and understanding of anything being important. The only positive was sometimes the action was all right. I don't understand why they used CGI in the bullet holes when they're having a gunfight in a hospital. I don't understand why nurses are just doing business as usual while there's a gunfight in a room, and then in the next room a patient's just being treated. Like, there's no reaction to the gunshots. Why? Like, there's you hey, stray bullets happen every day. Like, what are we doing here? Like, this movie's so ridiculous. Look, Josh Duhamel. I don't know about Josh Duhamel since I think he started in the show on NBC called Las Vegas or Vegas. Solid show. He's always kind of been that pretty boy action star. You know what I mean? I think he was in one of the Transformer movies. He's done things like that, right? Always kind of been a soldier, a badass, or like gets the girl. Done like romantic drama movies. I appreciate that. I'll say this. This is my one positive that I want to give this movie. I appreciate that he didn't like do a bad dye job on his hair going gray. Look, the guy's older, right? He's not a young chicken out here in these streets. So he let his hair go gray. I appreciated that. Unless they dyed it gray, then I take it all back. I just what I it took me 3 days to watch an 81-minute movie. Why? Again, because I started folding clothes. Like I I started folding clothes while this movie was on. I did other things. I was just like, which sometimes I don't. I'd like to like look. This is a review podcast, right? I'd like to give the movie my full attention, so I had to rewatch it. I had to start it from the beginning. I was like, all right, let me really try to watch this. It's all stiff. Like it just none of this works. It's a struggle to understand what the point of this movie was, because so he loses his memory, right? He has some like head trauma, obviously, loses his memory, is in a hospital. He's he works with the car. He works in the cartel, or he's a DEA agent, or he might be a CIA agent, or none of the people he was talking to throughout the movie were any of those things, or he might like, but none of it is done intelligently. Like, man, it's so hard to like not just all out roast this movie, which I'm already doing. So again, 81 minutes long. I want to keep saying that because you think, oh, that's an easy watch, breezed right through it. That's 3 episodes of whatever. You know what I mean? Like that's 3 episodes of The Bear, or an episode of The Old Man that we covered on the show. No, no, it's a clunky movie. It doesn't. I'm gonna give you the negatives, and then I know, like, I know for a fact that John is gonna give you like, no, this is the greatest movie I've ever seen because he has a different lens than I am. This is why we decided to do this episodes like this. We're doing the same movie, different reviews, and so I have no idea what John's gonna say. We haven't talked about it. I sent him one voice message and I told him I hated him, but then I also hate myself because I was the one that recommended we watch, that mentioned or brought up to watch this movie. So this is the first one that we disagree on. So we decided, hey, look, this is the first one that we're gonna disagree on because I already know he loves bad movies, which I like bad movies too. Like there's a movie right now that I was like, nah, that movie's not a 10%, which is Killers, which with Katherine Heigl and Ashton Kutcher. That's not a 10% movie. I don't know right now the rating of Blackout, but it has to be somewhere in the teens. Like this is 81 minutes I'll never get back. And again, like I just okay. All right. So he has Josh Duhamel has a case. Don't know what's in the case. Don't know what's in the case. They allude to what might be in the case. It's either a drug that can make you remember everything, or it's a drug, or it's a USB file that has the records of all history of all time. Okay. At no point do you find out what it is. Like at no point. This at no point. Like the case never opens. They're looking for this case the entire movie. They're only in a hospital and they show other scenes of like Nick Nolte in front of Josh Duhamel's house, which is his name in the movie's Cain, in front of Cain's house, and then 82 or 72 minutes later, his wife, played by Abby Cornish, that you don't know because he doesn't know if that's his wife or not. He doesn't remember anything. Starts getting glimpses of somewhat might be his past. Doesn't really know. Like small flashbacks of a conversation with Nick Nolte, but maybe not because it just see how I'm jumping around. Like that's how this movie felt. Like I'm trying to give you the shorter version of what this movie felt like. Like just none of like you don't know what's going on or who he is at any point, which has been done in the past, right? There's movies that can do that. Like can figure it out, muscle memory. You know how to fight. Like he kills a bunch of people in this movie. Solid action at times, at best, but for the most part, it's just a movie that served no purpose. Like there's some bad movies that, or at least are so bad they're good, right? Like I don't know off the top of my head, I can't think of. I don't. Maybe like John will say like Wild Wild West. Like he really enjoys that movie. I will say Galaxy Quest, right? Like I think Galaxy Quest. Some people hate that movie. I think that movie's a cult classic. Like I really enjoy watching that movie because I think it's funny. I think the aliens on that planet are cool. I think it's funny. I think the whole premise of people catching a signal from outer space and thinking that's a real life. That's a whole nother thing. but it has moments. There's no moments in this movie that make anything matter. Like again, like I tell you, they're looking for this case the whole movie, and then here's the spoiler, right? Here, besides the other stuff I've already said, here's a spoiler: the case is in the doctor's office. The cartel runs that whole hospital, and it was like the wife comes up with played by Abby Cornish that might or might not be a CIA agent, and goes, "Oh, it was in Doctor Garza's office the whole time. I just grabbed it. That's it. How how does she know what how does she know what the case looks like? Like there was he can't remember the day before. He doesn't remember his life. He doesn't remember her. Doesn't remember anything. Doesn't remember his friends. Doesn't remember his boss. Nothing. So he's never at any point explained to her or showed her what the case looked like, and she just knows. Oh, it's just a suitcase. So I just grabbed it. This is what we need. But okay, like what? What is happening? Like I don't understand why John chose to review this, but I only have myself to blame. This is all my fault. This episode is just pure self-hatred and loathing and understanding that I can never recommend or just in passing mention a movie to my best friend. Like I just can't do it. It's only caused me suffering and pain, and I'm gonna have to talk to my therapist about how bad this movie was because I need to know what was in the case. Just not getting the movie just fades to black. They walk off. There's no slow explosion. There's nothing. There's just they say they're gonna bring the fire at sunset at sunup. No fire. You see four cops go through the helipad. That's it. They don't clear out the building. The most that happens to the cartel is like a nurse kicks one of them. Like this movie was the only reason the only reason I don't give it a Wild Wild West, right? Which is the evade at all costs, is because I could see somebody finding the humor in this movie because it's so ridiculous. The action is terrible. Like when the main bad guy, a cartel member, right, is friends with Josh Duhamel. You could see like there's scenes that they have that he's trying to emote with him, like be friends and like dude, like we were really close and saying all that stuff in a really bad accent. Like we were friends, we were supposed to double cross them, and we know we were supposed to get this to this person, to the general, and all this, and just the next scene they're back to fighting again after being shot at by the cartel. Like it's just clunky. Okay, it doesn't serve anything. Like the conversations that they have don't lead to anything. There's another conversation that those two characters have. This is excuse me. There's another conversation that they have 7 or 8 minutes later. Very short movie, very fast paced, but still feels long. Again, none of that makes sense, right? Fast paced, but still feels long. That doesn't work. Like a sprint isn't a marathon, right? Those are two different words. Like that isn't how real life. What? Okay, that isn't how real life happens. So they have a conversation again, and there's another cartel member that has a gun pointed on Josh Duhamel, and Josh Duhamel goes, "Oh, I'll shoot him," and then cartel member shoots his friend, shoots his own friend. Like none of this matters to me, man. Like I just want the case. So he shoots him again, and then the guy acts like he's dead, but the guy shot him in the knee. I was like, okay, you got shot on the shoulder and the knee. Neither of those things killed you in 13 seconds. But he's like, hey man, can you do me a favor? Just put him out of his misery. And then he doesn't. And then Josh Duhamel shoots him in the head, and then somehow that's a reason for the conversation to end when they clearly didn't care about this person's body who was just laying there because they shot him twice already. Like pero it doesn't make like John. If you, I'm gonna listen to your episode 2 days after mine post, right, sir? If you find a reason why this movie was any good, I'm going to reconsider our 25 years of friendship, and it's gonna hurt a little bit, and I'll understand that you'll do it just because you're a dick. But sir, this movie was bad. Like I want you to point out to me one, like, because every time we do a show, I usually have a moment that you're like, oh yeah, that's right. That is a different way of looking at it. If you're able to do that with this movie, you win the conversation. I will tell you that right now. I'm looking straight into the camera. You win the conversation if you have a second, a split second of making me say, nah, yeah, you know what? That wasn't that bad. None of that was in this movie. None of it. What's up with all the twists? What's up with all these things? And you find out no, you find out no answers. Oh, sometimes I like a movie like that. This movie did twists and conversations just for the sake of doing them. There was no point to any of it because you don't know what's gonna like. So these two people are just on the run at the end from everybody. Like for oh my god, it's frustrating, dude. Talking about this movie. All right, so Josh Duhamel, like I said earlier, might be a CIA agent, might be a DEA agent, might work in the cartel, might be all of those things, might be none of those things. Nick Nolte's a DEA agent, allegedly. Probably not at the end. Like nobody's who you think they are, but none of it is done intelligently. Like yes, you could do covert ops, you could be undercover, all that shit, but none of that is done at a way that an intelligent person or a person that can read above the third grade level uh should have wrote this movie. Like when people watch this movie, like when the director, like when the studio or whoever, was like, "Yo, man, that's just fire, bro." That's bro, like when he goes, "Oh, you recruited me to the CIA," and she just stares at him and doesn't say anything, and they just kiss, and then the next thing is they're in the back of a car getting betrayed by somebody who they thought was on their side. Just and again, no conversation from her, like just nothing from his wife Abby Cornish that plays whatever her name is because it's unimportant because she's in it and she's out of it. So you don't care that she might be in danger or she might not. You don't know who she is and she doesn't matter. But nobody matters. Like even the conversations that he has with his supposed friend because they have a flashback of them drinking and partying together. And the next scene just doesn't matter. Like it's like that this interaction never happened. Oh, in either case, I don't know where the case is. Oh, yes, you do. No, no, I got nothing. I don't know where the case is. Oh, yes, you do. Shoot out, shoot out, shoot out. That's it. Like that's the whole like that's the entirety of the movie. I don't want to talk about this movie any longer, and I am done. And I have nothing else. Again, if you didn't hear this part, skip this movie. Skip Blackout, unless you have literally nothing else to do. All right, guys. I got nothing else. Peace.
Thanks for listening to Streamophile. Directed by John. Executive producer Ben and John. Created by Ben and John. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.